Captain, we cannot send in medevac at this time. Set tide, over.
Okay, as a quick recap, we're working on Media Studies Standard 2.3, which asks you to demonstrate understanding of representation in the media. In the last video, we covered what we mean by representation, and we looked at how Somalis are depicted in the film Black Hawk Down. It's clear that they are generally uncharacterized cannon fodder whose dialogue extends to screaming, and whose motivation never stretches past the desire to parade American flesh. Their faces are rarely seen in close-up, no weight is given to their deaths. This is us describing the representation, and that will get you to achieve level. To get to merit or excellence, both in this standard and in life, you will have to ask why the representation exists, and consider the implications of the representation. And that's what we're going to try to do here. You'll notice as we go that there's never one clear, easy answer. Instead, there's multiple factors at play, many of which overlap, and the more you look, the more complex and nuanced the whole thing gets. So, why are Somalis represented as a horde of faceless psychotics? The first reason is that they're not actually Somalis. All Somali characters were played by actors from other parts of Africa. In fact, no Somalis were even consulted during the making of the film. See this guy screaming enthusiastically? Apparently that's not Somali, it's made up gibberish. It might be worth detouring into film history to illustrate what this actually means. Here's a scene from 1915's Birth of a Nation, directed by D.W. Griffith. I can never say that. Based on a novel written by a confirmed white supremacist, the film glorifies the Ku Klux Klan and depicts freed slaves as slovenly and violent. What you're watching here is Gus trying to propose marriage to Flora Cameron. Flora, however, isn't too keen, and when Gus becomes persistent, Flora gets scared and runs up a hill. Lascivious Gus maintains hot pursuit, Flora threatens to jump, and then there she goes. What you may have noticed about Gus is that he's played by a white man wearing blackface. Why not hire a black actor? Because a black actor might find the subject matter fundamentally racist and refuse to participate. Returning to Black Hawk Down, it's important to see the replacement of Somali actors with other miscellaneous African actors as the same kind of racism at play. Where a Somali actor might question the narrative, somebody with no cultural connection to the events will be happy to follow direction.
In Somalia, killing is negotiation.
The next thing we want to look at is the historical context of the film, i.e. what was happening in the world at the time the film was made. And with Black Hawk Down, this is particularly important. Released in America in December 2001 and the rest of the world a month later, the movie surfaced in the turbulent socio-political aftermath of September 11. Brendan Sexton was one of the actors in the film. In a radio interview, he stated that the film that made it to the screen differed significantly from the one that was originally shown to him in the script, and that scenes asking hard questions about the realities of war and American involvement in Somalia were sliced from the final cut. Now, why would they do that? Well, maybe because in the post-9/11 environment, most Americans didn't have an appetite for layered think-piece cinema that explored the murky grey areas and myriad perspectives of international conflict. To prove I'm not generalizing, here's a speech given by George W. Bush on 20 September 2001.
Either you are with us, or you are with the terrorists.
And now here's a Gallup graph showing Bush's approval rating across his entire presidency. Now let's zoom in on that spike. Black Hawk Down is a product of this polarized environment of us and them and no in between. One could argue that Somali undercharacterization and misrepresentation was simply collateral damage, a symptom of US political and social sentiment at the time. The next point is closely related to this, and that's the point about economics and Hollywood formula. It would be naive to think that major movie studios make movies solely because they love the art of cinema and they want to say something timeless and meaningful about human existence. At its core, you have to see money as the motivating factor. Studios sink cash into a film with the hope of making an investment, and the best way to do that is to appeal to a wide audience. What is a wide audience like? Well, simple things, like a clear understanding of who's good and who's evil. And while there should be a place for complex characters and tough questions in mainstream cinema, for an American war film in the aftermath of 9/11, this would have been financial suicide. As it is, Black Hawk Down cost $92 million to make and nearly doubled that at the box office, a profit arguably made on the back of Somali misrepresentation. Coming back to why, maybe we should think about this as just part of a wider trend, as Hollywood has frequently created some simplistic and negative representations of Islam in general. Somali representation in Black Hawk Down could just be seen as part of a wider American inclination to depict Islam and its affiliates as the other. Alien, violent, scary, almost cult-like in their desire to crush the sensitive flower of Western innocence. At least in 2013's Captain Phillips, Somalis get close-ups, dialogue, and are played by real Somalis. They're still holding white people at gunpoint, but it's representational progress.
Sure. Look at me. Sure. I'm the captain now.
So, with that out of the way, what are the implications of this representation? The most obvious one is that it reinforces negative stereotypes. This is what Omar Jamal, executive director of the Somali Justice Advocacy Center in St. Paul, Minnesota, said about the film Black Hawk Down. The Somali people are depicted as very savage beasts without any human element. We don't know what Americans will think of us Somalis after they watch this. The community is shocked and really afraid of the consequences of this movie. His concerns are pretty fair, but maybe he should have gone even further. Beyond the possibility of social blowback, the film reinforces a belief in Western superiority and the idea that first world lives are worth more than third world lives. Finally, for our discussion today, there's the implication that the film skews the public's version of history. And this is a problem with any based-on-fact media. Because it must be said that Black Hawk Down is probably the only way a lot of people, especially Westerners, will learn about the events that took place in Mogadishu. As such, films like this one become a sort of unofficial ministry of truth operating under the guise of popular media. And through tailored representations and selective depictions, they recraft historical narratives, which are then accepted as fact by an uncritical audience. And that's double plus bad. Remember, based on a true story means that it's not a true story. It's only a representation, one that's been warped through financial concerns, socio-political and historical contexts, and the stylistic whims of the filmmaker. If you don't remember this, if you don't actively acknowledge it, then fabrication becomes fact. This is the kind of answer that we're hoping for if you want to get up to merit or excellence. First, describe the representation, then ask why it exists, and finally, consider the implications. For your own study, pick a representation that you find interesting and then do some reading about it. The deeper you go, the more complex it'll get, and that can only be a good thing.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out my channel. If you like what you see, you want to see more, check out the annotations be around here. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys later. Drop a like, comment, subscribe. Shout out to my boy LJ, LJ127. Check out his stuff. There'll be an annotation down here. Share with your friends, favorite, all that stuff. Check out my Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr. It's all there. You can follow me wherever you want.